Hello people of the internet, and welcome to another woods walk. We're out here in the woods and things are just exploding. Like, things are so beautiful right now. And there's so much to talk about. I could talk for an hour at least just about what we've got right here. So, I'm giving myself a challenge. I can't move from this point. I can reach as far as this little selfie stick will let me reach, but I can't talk about anything that's out of my reach right now. So we're gonna get a hyper-local view of what's in bloom and what's coming up right now. So here we go. So over here, yeah, you can see it's just bright green everywhere. Over here we have a cut-leafed toothwort, and wart is an old word for plant. So it's nothing to do with W-A-R-T warts, but it is a cut-leafed toothwort. So it's got these teeth on here, and that's where its name comes from. And it's got these little flowers here. I'm trying to get the focus right for you, and my light is kind of funny. But little flowers. There's 4 petals there, kind of a pale violet to white color. And toothwort is a host plant for the checkered white butterfly caterpillars. That is something new I learned this year, which is pretty neat, just how our whole system works together. When they're coming up, they look, I've got one in shadow here, they look a little bit like tomato sprouts, but they're a spring ephemeral, so they're only here for a little while, and then they will die back as the canopy, the tree canopy comes over. It sounds like we have a ferocious beast coming down here to join us. This is Willow. She's the adventure kitty. She likes to go for hikes in the woods with us. Yeah, she's pretty great. Things in the forest other than my cat now. Here we've got spring beauties. Yeah, there we go. Oh, the focus was so good for a second there. Spring beauties are a really neat one because they have these lines going from the outside to the center of the plant, and that acts as kind of a beacon for the pollinators. I've been watching a bumblebee buzz around here, and just watching, kind of following it through the woods and watching where it's stopping. Spring beauties have lots of cat belly. Sorry about that. They have a whole series of petals. So they've got the one in bloom there, and then it's got all of these other buds at different stages. So even though a single bloom has its time frame, if it's blooming at a time that we get a hard freeze or conditions aren't ideal, it extends its season by having that variety of buds. And this plant, like many of the ephemerals, they close up the flowers when conditions, if it's overcast or conditions aren't right for getting pollinated. They have such a short window of availability for pollination and reproduction that they really kind of have to optimize that, and that sometimes means closing up the flower to make sure the pollen isn't washed away. All right. So I did cheat a little bit in picking my spot here, and this is why. This is the first day that I have seen full blooming trout lilies. They are just fantastic. Look at that flower, and look at the leaf behind there. So it's got a variegated leaf that's kind of the speckly leaf, and it's called a trout lily because the speckling of the leaf kind of looks like a trout. It's got the two leaves coming up, and then a separate stem that the flower rises off of. And it's just cool looking. It's kind of a rocket ship of a flower there. And trout lilies grow in colonies, so if I back up a little bit here, you can see that there's quite a few trout lilies, and right here we've got a spot where a lot of them are either in bloom or budding, which is, they're another, like many ephemerals, a long-lived and very slow-growing flower. So it takes several years before they actually produce blossoms, produce blooms. So that's a pretty neat plant that we've got right here at in our little spot we picked. Let's see, who else have we got? We've got ramps. If you haven't checked out Ramp Fest, that is, do it. It's pretty awesome. Here we've got Virginia waterleaf. And we talked about this, we saw some of this earlier in the season. This is a little bit further along its growth, so the leaves are significantly bigger. Those little water spots, those lighter color spots, are taking up less of the overall leaf structure there. We've got some little wood nettles poking through. So those will, in some parts of the woods, there's quite a bit of wood nettle that goes on, a little different than a stinging nettle. Broader leaves, still burns. Here, this little dual-lobed guy here is a seedling of jewelweed. So it's nice to have the the nettle here and the jewelweed right next to it, because if you get nettle burns or irritations, the jewelweed, the juice in the stem, and this one's just like, it's just sprouting, it's not really anything ready to be, it's not quite ready to be a full plant just yet, but when it grows up, the juice of the jewelweed is kind of like a native aloe vera, so a good one to be able to identify. And I'll keep touching base, and we'll see how these little plants grow up together. Well, that's just a couple of the things that we've got, without even standing up or moving over. There's just so much beautiful stuff right now. It's if you can get out, do it. It is, keep your safe social distance, but if there's any way to get out, and even in your own backyard, see what's out there. It's going to be different in an urban environment than what we've got out here in the woods, but there is always something to learn, and always something to find and explore, and it's a beautiful time to be alive, watching everything come back to life, no matter where you're at. So we are out playing in the woods, and fiddleheads are up. And so we found some fiddleheads in one location, and then we were looking around and we saw these guys. And I'd like you to notice how fuzzy they are. If you see something like that when you're looking for fiddleheads, these fuzzy fiddleheads are not delicious. Do not eat these guys. And when I find some delicious ones, I will show you those as well. So, when you are looking for fiddleheads, the fiddlehead fern that you are looking for is an ostrich fern. And a good thing to look for that you can see from a distance is these plumes from last year. And you can see, I'm going to zoom in on here, if I can get it to focus. You can see kind of that that texture that they have there. There's it almost looks braided, and the ends curl in. So these are longer fronds that overlap and curl in. There are some others that are just kind of straight lines up the sides. That's not what you're looking for. So from last year's fronds, you can go down to the base to what's called the crown. And down here you can see, fronds from previous years. And then down in here there's this kind of raised crown that the fern rises out of. And tucked inside of there, that's this year's fiddleheads. So you can actually reach right in there and cut a couple of those out. Make sure that you leave enough so the fern can grow back. Or you can wait for them to emerge. And yeah, there are some tasty, delicious fiddleheads there. It's a good idea to have a knife with you to cut these off, but since I don't, you can just pinch them down there. They're crispy. You can fry them up with butter like pretty much anything else, that any other edible wild deliciousness you find, better in butter. We're going to collect some of these and put them on pizza. I'm hearing some thunder there, so we better get going. Alright, so that's what we've got for this week's woods walk. I hope you've enjoyed. The cat is still prowling, so Willow and I will carry on our adventures, and we hope to see you again next week. Bye! Have a good one. Bye!